David Bromberg, John Carter Cash, Matt Cartsonis, a guy that plays with me a lot. Some of you might know him. Jay Unger, fiddle player, great fiddle player. Steve Martin played on a cut. Since he says I taught him to play the banjo, I called him and said I gotta have, since we were recording with one microphone, everything was done when you were done. 3 minutes later, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever the song was, and there's no overdubs, and there's a song I was gonna play mandolin on, it needed a banjo. I couldn't do both. And so I got Steve to play on a Warren Zevon song. Thank you. There's 2 Warren Zevon songs on there too. A greatly overlooked American songwriter. How many people are familiar with Warren Zevon? Oh, I knew it, my people, yeah. I don't know what we're going to get into. I do workshops and stuff at festivals, and that's a little more focused. This is just kind of like, hey, everybody, come by and say hello. And I'll try and get something across to you that maybe the guitar pickers will learn something or somebody will get into it. Any questions, first of all? You can think about that for a minute. I'll sit here and... I've been doing this for over 40 years, over 50 years, and been to a lot of strange places, played with a lot of people, and made a lot of recordings with these things and various people. I've worked with from Willie Nelson and Gonzo, the Muppet, to 50 Goats and a Cow doing a Sesame Street video. That was a big moment for me. It was like, finally made it. Sesame Street, yes, ma'am.
I just wondered, I think I've known this before, but I've forgotten in my old age. Who was the guy that did record with this now, Teddy?
That was Uncle Charlie. Uncle Charlie and his dog Teddy was the 5th album the Dirt Band made. And it was when we were doing a... we had a lot of songs that we did that were jug band. And like that, you know. Things like Washington at Valley Forge, freezing cold at Upspoke George, Vododio, Vododio Do. Crazy words, crazy tune, all the George could croon swoon was Vododio, Vododio Do. On his ukulele, now daily, he would strum, beetle and bum, dancing and prancing, then he'd holler. You weren't there. That's where the audience in 1967 would say, Red Hot Mama, dancing and prancing, then he'd holler.
Red Hot Mama.
Thank you. Crazy words, crazy tune, all the George could croon and swoon was Vododio, Vododio Do, Vododio Do. Well, thank you for coming by. I've had a great time playing for you. And we have time for more, right? Yeah, okay. You have a question, sir?
Did you ever play with Benny Martin?
With who?
Benny Martin.
Oh, Benny Martin. One time. It was great. He was a great fiddle player, boy. He was, yeah, you. Yeah, I played with his music a lot. And then, but like, I was a teenager at the time. I started playing banjo at 17 and a half because of a group called the Dillards that came to Southern California. It was a magic time back then. Southern California had 7 clubs: the Ice House, the Troubadour, the Ash Grove. The Ash Grove is now the Improv, and the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach, and these places where the Dillards would go play the circuit. And
Remember a place called Sid's Blue Beat?
yes. Sid's Blue Beat was actually very cool. It was down in Seal Beach. Played there with Played there with Jose Feliciano one night. And actually, Jose and I became friends when he first moved to L.A. He was just a teenager with a guitar and a dog. And I'd say to people, I'd go to a coffee house or something and say, hey, can we play a few songs? What's the deal with the dog? Well, he's blind. Oh, okay, let him in. Yeah, I'd go up and do 3 songs. About an hour and a half later, we'd leave. We'd do a bunch of songs. I played just the banjo with him, and thanks to Jose, he told me, John, that banjo's pretty good and all that, but you ought to play something else too, because you can't play banjo all the time. So I picked up the mandolin, which came into Bojangles about 2 years later, and I was glad of it. Thank you, Jose. I played with Jose at the Iridium in New York last 3 years ago. That's the jazz club that Les Paul played at a lot. But back in those 60s, we were doing that jug band music, and we got our first review, which said, doubtful if they'll ever be captured on record. Yeah, that was before we had a record deal. And try and go around Hollywood with carrying that review with you, and you don't get too many people excited. But there was one guy that thought we should record one song that he thought was a hit, and he was right. It's Buy For Me the Rain. You might remember that. Anybody remember that? It went, buy for me the rain, my darling, buy for me the rain. Buy for me the crystal pools that fall upon the plain, and I'll buy for you a rainbow and 1,000,000 pots of gold. Buy it for me now, dear, before I am too old. That's the rain. Buy for me the robin, darling, buy for me the wing. Buy for me a sparrow, almost any flying thing. And I'll buy for you a tree, my love, where a robin's nest may grow. Buy it for me now, dear, the years all hurry so. That got us an audition for the movie Paint Your Wagon. Remember Paint Your Wagon? Lee Marvin and Clint Eastwood learning how to sing. They never learned. Actually, they did a good job. And we came back from Paint Your Wagon, 1968, and Jeff broke the group up and didn't want to work. We didn't want to work together anymore. A couple guys in the band were, well, one was an acid head and one was smoking pot all the time and couldn't figure out where he was, and different things. We only knew the songs we recorded at the time, pretty much. I knew a lot of bluegrass, which came in handy, but buy it for me now, dear, the years all hurry so. That's, well, thank you. That takes me back to the first time I heard that on the radio. Our first album came out February 7th in 1967. And I was driving down Sunset Boulevard, and it was 1:10 in the morning. And KRLA said, here's a new song by the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Buy For Me the Rain. I almost drove into a tree. It was like, we're on the radio! We're on the I had to run back until I stopped at Ranch Market, which was an all-night store, and I spent all $12 that I had on food, which we didn't have, and we didn't have any money, and that was something you got when you had a job, money. And I went into the house with a bunch of food and said, we're rich. We were on the radio, and that's all that mattered. And we made 4 albums, did songs like the fourth album, before Uncle Charlie, had a very clever song written by Dorothy Fields and Jimmy McHugh. Anybody ever heard of them? They were the Lennon and McCartney of their time. And their time was in the 20s and 30s. And it was really a point of pride that we had a record that when you looked in that massive record catalog, you remember those, some of you? You wanted to find a song, you go to the record catalog and see who recorded it. Collegiana was only recorded by two people, the Paul Whiteman Orchestra in 1928 and the Nitty Dirt Band in 1968. But Collegiana was written by this pair. You'll know one of their songs. Jimmy and Dorothy were songwriters of the time. Like I say, the Lennon and McCartney, they wrote so many hits. And they were writing one in November one time. And Jimmy, let's go look at the Macy's windows. We can't come up with anything right now. They were having a writer's block. They were in New York. And they're standing there looking in the Macy's windows. And a young couple comes up behind them and says, the girl's saying, "Oh, honey, look at all that stuff in there. And I just want, look at that. And he said, "Well, that's all nice stuff, but I can't give you anything but love." And they walked away. And Dorothy and Jimmy looked at each other and went, "Let's get back to the office." They wrote that song, "I Can't Give You Anything But Love," that night, and they got it in 2 Broadway plays and became an instant hit through the Christmas. And I tell that story because people that write songs, you kind of wonder where they come from. Well, they come from everywhere. Inspiration, write down things that happen to you, and they probably happen to other people, you know. And I remember they did. Dorothy and Jimmy wrote that. Yeah. On the campus they try to vamp us with anything new, anything blue. My diploma is now in a coma, my studying too, pretty near through. I've found a new collegiate hop, dance till I drop, I'll never stop. If you want to see what is getting me, I'll show you how to do. Collegiana, see how it's done, easy as pie and lots of fun. You never have to study this muddy water hop. Miss Pollyanna never was glad until she grabbed an undergrad and did Collegiana, 'cause it was something great. Cornell, Dartmouth, and Pennsylvania all got the mania. And how? Out at Lehigh, knee-high to step to it, lots of pep to it. Hear me, you're gonna burn up, turn up your heels, air your books, you'll begin to feel. Got the new Hosanna, Collegiana reel. It's got the next line. Collegiana started at Yale, spread out to Princeton, Tiger Tail, murdered them at Harvard, and dazzled old Penn State. Army, Navy, and Notre Dame started to dance and spread the fame of this Collegiana, 'cause it was something great. Honor students and every pedagogue all go to pedagogue at night. Oh, I love that line. I gotta do it again. Honor students and every pedagogue all go to pedagogue at night. 2-step, new step, you'll get along with me. Get a new degree dancing. You're gonna burn up, turn up your heels. Air your books, you'll begin to feel. Got the new Hosanna, Collegiana reel. That made a memory chip activate for sure. Now that was at a time, Johnny Sandlin played the bass on that record. He was the drummer with the band that was living in our house that my brother had just convinced to move out to LA to try and make it. It was a group called Allman Joy, who later became the Allman Brothers. They lived with us for 3 months in a 4-story house in Beechwood Canyon. What a mess that was. Oh, man. And it was really a fun time. They changed their name to the Hourglass and didn't quite make it. They broke up. They went different ways. But Greg stayed behind, and he had about 9 months in L.A. until... See, is this okay, what I'm doing? Because you were there. You were just doing different things. I was a starving musician and trying to figure out what to do in a house full of drugs and stuff, and alcohol and all that. So I never did any of that. I was the road manager for the Dirt Band in the early days for the first 11 years, because when we had that hit, Bye For Me the Rain, I was the only one old enough to rent a car. I was 21. Everybody else was, let's see, Les was 18, 19, 20. Anyway, so there we are with the Allman Brothers, and Greg was staying behind. I got a recording of a song in the living room of his apartment on Cahuenga. It's Just Not My Cross to Bear, the very first recording, and it's just a magic thing. He was so good, and it was so slow. It's just not my cross to bear. Yeah, gang on the bass player and the drummer were Merle Briganti and Larry Sims, who were in a band my brother was managing called the Sunshine Company. The Sunshine Company had a couple of hits. One was Happy. One was Here Comes the Sun. And one was going to be, they had the single out. It was going to be a big thing because it was their third single. And it made it up to like 35 on the pop chart in 3 weeks, which was a real accomplishment then. And then Fifth Dimension heard it, and they recorded it and smothered them. It was Beautiful Balloon. Would you like to ride in my beautiful balloon, up and away? And they broke up about a month later. Because it took a lot of... Anyway, Larry Sims and Merle Briganti were the drummer and the bass player on Just Not My Cross to Bear, recorded in that living room. And they later went on to be the drummer, bass player with Loggins and Messina. And they did 7 years with them. Jim, how long was Loggins and L&M together? 7 or 8? 9? Okay, they did the 9 years. You probably heard Jimmy talk about Merle Briganti, right? Who had Merle Briganti was the first drummer I ever saw. I did a session for him 2 weeks ago in Austin. It was really fun. If we shut up, Merle, we got to quit talking. What's the next song? I did 4 songs for him. It was fun. But I started the Allman Brothers. I helped them start. Because, as I said, Greg was living in an apartment my brother was paying for. And he was driving a car, a Chevy Corvair. The worst car. Right up there with a Dodge Dart. But he was driving a Corvair, and he came to the house one time. I was living in a duplex with my brother. And I was upstairs, and hey man, the man stopped me at a traffic light, and he said I had to prove that I owned the car or something like that. Can I get the pink slip? Because I got to take it to the judge. And I said, yeah, sure. I went and back the files and got the pink slip. He stole the car and sold it that afternoon and flew to Jacksonville. That was the first night of the Allman Brothers rehearsal. So I started the Allman Brothers, yeah. So that was a fun thing. But those were fun days back then. And I really wanted to be doing what I'm doing now. Playing guitar stores. Now, it's really nice of Replay to have me here. And like I said to my mom, thanks for having me. And but I've done about 100 dates this year all over the country with my band. And I have a bunch of guys I play with because, 2 years ago, I left the Dirt Band and go out and do more of this on my own stuff. On the road again. And playing a lot of performing arts centers and the like. And pardon?
Couldn't you do both?
Do both? The Dirt Band? let me put it this way. When Jeff called my daughter a few months ago, he said it best. He said, "You know something?" After talking to her for a few minutes, after having not called her for 7, 8 years, he was calling about the Ken Burns show. To say, anybody see Ken Burns' country music show? He was saying, your dad did a good job. But when Jeff, his last thing he said to her was, every time I get on the bus, I'm glad your dad's not there. Oh, really? Yeah, it's a no. Let's say it's mutual. She said, I think he feels the same way. And come on in, you're late. Did you bring a note? Are they here for this? Well, there's a couple chairs right over here. Our first job was playing with Mr. Merle Travis. You know who Merle Travis was? Some of you do, I think. I'd like to do a song here by Mr. Merle Travis. Then I'll get into some of the workshop aspects. This is a song that I am a pilgrim and a stranger traveling through this wearisome land. I've got a home in that yonder city, good Lord, and it's not made by man. I've got a mother and a sister who have gone to that sweet home. I just pray that I can go and see them, good Lord, over on that other shore. Get it, boys. Well. Now, when I'm dead, laying in my coffin, all of my friends, both of my friends, all gathered round, they will say that he is laying there sleeping, good Lord, sweet peace. Yeah, his soul is found. Yeah, I'm a pilgrim and a stranger traveling through this wearisome land. You know, when Travis wrote this, he called it a wearisome land, but I've been all around. Played over 10,000 shows. Not in the same place. And it's a pretty cool place. There was a time, though, when the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, we were the first American group to go to Russia. And that was quite an experience. In fact, it's in the book. And I had a book come out last year, and I devoted a whole chapter to Russia and the Circle album. Well, I was there. I usually don't get a chance to tell this story, but while I was there, I wanted to hear some Russian jokes about the president, their president. Oh, no, we cannot tell a joke about the Russian president because it would be 3-year jail sentence for making fun of the president. And well, I found a guy that was going to tell me one, but I said, come up to my room. It was late at night, but I had to, I knew we'd been there about 3 weeks, and I knew that a Russian wasn't going to be able to get into the hotel because he'd be stopped. The hotels were for the tourists. And so I told him, I says, look, repeat after me. Let's get out of here. He goes, let us get out of here. No, I said, let's get out of here. Let's get out. Let's get. And I say, now say, what's your problem, buddy? What is your problem, buddy? And he didn't. he didn't say it right, and so I had him work on that a little bit. So we were walking through the lobby of the hotel, and this guy comes from across the hall, and another guy comes from over there, and they converge where we are, and they say to the guy, they say something to him in Russian, because they're going to stop him. This Russian is going into the hotel. What's going on? Well, he looked at him and says, "What's your problem, buddy?" And he looks at me and says, "Let's get out of here." And, "Oh, excuse me very much. Oh, sorry, Russia police. We did not mean to intrude." And he went and told me a joke. And, well, he didn't tell me in the room, because I got him to the room and he kept pointing at the ceiling. Like, I cannot, we don't tell a joke about president. He's too good of a president. And this was Brezhnev at the time. He just pointed his eyebrow. But if you want to hear a joke, for the younger people, Brezhnev was a leader of a big country. You can see it from Alaska. And if you're in the right town. He told me the next day out and standing in the traffic, because I didn't believe his paranoia at first, because, well, it was about midnight, and he points at the car out, the car, look at the car, 2 men in it, 2 men in the car, the 1 minute it will drive off, then another car to replace it with 2 men in it. And sure enough, it did, just like clockwork. He knew we were being watched. So the next day, he tells me this joke about Brezhnev was a leader of a great country. He was out in the canoe one fine day. He falls out of the canoe. The girl that's with him in the canoe pulls him into safety. He says, "My darling, you've saved the Soviet leader, the leader of the greatest country on earth. I grant you any one wish you want." She says, "Open the Soviet borders to free travel for 24 hours. He said, "So, you want to be alone with me?" It's so nice to say that to a room full of people that get it. The other one was Brezhnev. They put out a stamp with him on it. They had a wonderful ceremony planned for a month after the stamp's out. They're going to honoring the leader of the greatest country on earth. Only none of the stamps were sticking. They studied the people using the stamp, and they found 50% of the people were spitting on the wrong side. The other 50% licked the backside so hard all the glue came off. I am a pilgrim and a stranger, traveling through that wearisome land. Thank you. Thank you. One of the things I'd like to tell you is how easy it is to play the guitar if you think like a banjo player. And this is a workshop, so I ought to get to something like that. And that's thumb, index, thumb, middle. It's double thumbing on the banjo. It's what they call it, because the thumb does half the notes. Every now and then, you change the string that the thumb will hit. And you change the string that the middle finger hits. And you practice this at home, going, and you practice it with watching TV. You got to practice that so you don't think about it. And you make it Doesn't matter what string you're hitting. Just get the idea. Sounds like the coffee pot song. And you can do so much with that. It's incredible. If you take the old chords, I'm busy right now. And then play this. Let me just play the song. Thank you. That's a way to that style, that idea can play so many songs. All I'm doing is changing the chords, sometimes refretting a note. I'm making a mistake. Take a different. Thank you. Give you an idea how that can progress. Any questions? Just fire them off. Yes, ma'am. None of your business. Next question. It was made in South Africa, and by a company that calls it the Smooth Talker guitar. It doesn't feed back. It sounds like it's the best sounding acoustic guitar I've ever had, and I really dig it. I bought it from a guy in Nashville named George Gruen. How many people know George Gruen? Oh, wow. I bought several. Hi, George. Hi, John. Come upstairs for a minute. George, I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to buy. Come upstairs for a minute, John. And I'd known George in '72. And I go upstairs and he, just play this for a minute. I walked out with it. Yeah. I bought one. But if you ever get a chance to meet George, do it. He's a one of a kind. And don't forget, ask him if you can see his snake collection in his office. He's got a bunch of snakes, big ones. Now, the banjo is a great instrument, I think. So I take it and put a lot of the styles. Since I can't play banjo on everything, like Jose told me. How many are familiar with Long Hard Road? It was the Dirt Band's first #1 song. And it started with a guitar like this in D tuning, and I got to start it with just the guy singing it, and then everybody else came in. But sang way back in my memory. About a little rundown cabin in the woods. I've never done this before. And the guitar just fills up the space. And this is all one thumb index, thumb middle. Every now and then I might pinch the strings, like hit them all at once. But using thumb index, thumb middle, I'll play something. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to do Fisher's Hornpipe. This is fun. This is a banjo tune, a fiddle tune. Letting them take a picture. Thank you. Now the thing about that one is, it's a lot of thumb index, thumb middle, but then it's also a lot of thumb. You can say, you can do that way, but you can do an awful lot with that. A work in progress. Thank you. I should have finished the progress on that one. Anyway, any questions? Yes, sir.
You said that was D tuning?
This is D tuning. It has 3 Ds, 3 Ds, 2 A's, and an F sharp. So when you strum it, it's like, look, I'm playing. 4 chord, 5 chord, 1 chord. This is the way they used to play in the old days. I've been told, the farmers and stuff, that people didn't have time to learn any chords. They just tune it open. You can play a song with 1 finger even. Like John Henry. No, Home Sweet Home. Sorry, wrong leg. Gotta get to the 4 chord for the bridge. I forgot about that. I did say you could play the song with 1 finger, though. That's truth in advertising. Okay, well, what about the bridge, wise guy, when you go to the 4 chord with 1? Okay. Well, the banjo. Pardon? Yeah, I got a little callus right there. Any question? Mommy, what's wrong with Daddy? That comes to mind. I did that one night for one of my sons was in the audience. He laughed through the next two songs. I'll never forget that. Oh, good. The banjo. If you're recording a banjo, it's really good to put a microphone behind it, which is like right here, like that, and one in front of it. Don't worry about phase. It'll probably sound good if it's out of phase, or you might end up using the behind banjo. I did that with Merle last couple weeks ago. He goes, "I never thought of that. Boy, that sounds great," because back here, it just sounds really cool. It's that low note will ring forever, and I might sound like I'm crazy. Yeah, listen to this. Oh, but it really works. I used it on the Steve Martin album that I produced, The Crow, and we won a Grammy, and that was really fun. What are you doing? I said, okay, let me know if you're comfortable. And I got the banjo right with the mic in front and then the one behind, and that gave it the mellow sound. Made it less obnoxious. This is a frailing style. Thank you. I really zone out playing the banjo sometimes. It's really been a wonderful thing. One of the first things I wanted to do when I started playing at 17 was get the banjo on the radio. But I didn't have a band, I didn't have anything. Then I heard a song on the radio. I was going to college, and I heard this song on the radio, and I knew the bass player was a mandolin player that had been in a bluegrass group in Southern California, in San Diego. Scottsville Squirrel Barkers was the name of the group. Does that ring a bell with anyone? Well, the bass player was Chris Hillman. And the band that I heard the record of was the Byrds. I figured if somebody in the Scottsville Squirrel Barkers can get on the radio, so can I. So Buy For Me the Rain had 5-string banjo on it, and I was really proud of that. That was was the first song. Then the next thing I wanted to do was, well, I wanted to someday record with Earl Scruggs, because I'm sure you're familiar with Earl Scruggs. And my brother and I went to the Grand Ole Opry when I was 19, before the Dirt Band started. And it was a hot August night. My dad was in the diesel equipment business, and we'd convinced him that we needed to go out and see some of his clients. There weren't any in Nashville, but we went there anyway. And right when I looked in that window, Lester Flatt said, "Earl and I are going to bring out Mama Maybelle Carter to do the Wildwood Flower." And I was looking in the back window because it was sold out. And we were from California. We need a ticket for this. And I wasn't a hippie, but didn't know we needed a ticket for the Grand Ole Opry. Pretty stupid, actually. And Maybelle walked out on stage and kind of sounded like... This is one of her licks. I never heard anybody but her do that. And she let it ring. Because the guy below her got the next note, the tonic notes. And I knew then that I was going to record someday with Earl Scruggs and Maybelle Carter. But I didn't have a band. And it was a dream that came true. And strangely enough, Earl and I became friends when the Nitty Dirt Band played Vanderbilt University for the first time, 1970, October. But the next June, he was playing a club in Colorado, and I told Merle Watson, because Doc Watson played Pasadena in April. I said, I met Merle, but I didn't meet his dad. Too many people were, "Hi, Doc, I got it, blah, blah, blah." You know, it was too noisy, too many people. So Merle's off on the side of the room, and I told him, I'm going to ask Earl Scruggs if he'd record with the Dirt Band. I'll let you know what happens. So the next June, Earl was playing this club, and I asked him, Mr. Scruggs, I was wondering, would you consider, would you think maybe, I'm driving him back to his hotel every night for 5 nights, because he's playing a 5-night run at Tulagis and Boulder. I said, it was the last night. Would you consider maybe recording with the Nitty Dirt Band? And he said, I'd be proud to. And I almost fell out of the car. Well, we had one. The next week, Doc was playing the same club. I said, well, it's a little different then. I walked up to Merle. Earl said yes. Oh, I got to introduce you to Daddy. He introduced me to Doc. I said, Doc, we're making an album with Earl Scruggs. We want you to be part of it. And he said, well, if Earl's going to be there, I want to pick. Sure enough, he did. And we called up Merle Travis. Bill did, my brother. He was managing the band and producing the records at the time. Uncle Charlie was the album that Earl had heard, and Doc. And you people are all part of that. Some of you went out and bought that album, or you requested the songs from it, or you know. I knew a man, Bojangles, and he danced for you in worn-out shoes, silver hair and a ragged shirt and baggy pants. Did the old soft shoe. Oh, he could jump so high, higher than anybody before or since. Then he lightly touched down. You know his name. Come on. Mr. Dance. Well, dance he did all over the radio. And Earl had heard it. And he heard the whole album. His sons played it for him. And so when he said yes, I thought, well, there's a chance for something to happen here. And Merle Travis said yes. Then Earl got us Vassar Clements, some guy from Florida. Nobody had heard of Vassar because they didn't put credits on the album then. But I'd heard of Vassar because I had every one of Jimmy Martin's records. And I asked Earl, do you think you could get Jimmy Martin? Well, I'll have to have Louise ask him. That's his wife, Louise, who knew how to talk to Jimmy. Jimmy was a guy that thought everybody had a right to his opinion. And he lets you know, hi, I'm Jimmy Martin, the world's best bluegrass singer. You see my gravestone yet? It's out at the cemetery there. And 8 years before he died, 10 years or so, but he had a big tombstone. Here lies the king of bluegrass. But everybody agreed. He was. He was the best bluegrass singer ever. And I got to play with. In fact, I almost jumped off the couch when episode 6 of the Ken Burns show started. It's called Will the Circle Be Unbroken? It started off with my banjo doing Grand Old Opry song. It was really cool. And thanks to, anyway, the album came together. And we got to be in the studio, these hippies from California. I mean, California hippies were, I looked like one, but I wasn't one. I wasn't one. I like to think I was. It's part of me anyway. I remember this one guy I ran into on Sunset Boulevard, 1968 or so. Hey, John, I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you, man? Hey, I was wondering, are you a Pisces? Huh. No, I'm not a Pisces. Are you a Virgo? No, I'm not a Virgo. Are you a Gemini? No, I'm not a Gemini. Are you a Sagittarius? Yes, I'm Sagittarius. Oh, I knew it. You saw some of those people back then, I'm sure. Well, Earl said yes. Doc said yes. Travis said yes. Acuff said maybe. And we found ourselves in the studio with this incredible conglomeration of people. Got to pick with Maybelle Carter. Now, I'd had Maybelle Carter's album, Songs of the Famous Carter Family by Flatt and Scruggs, for several years. I wanted to do that song of hers that everybody knows nowadays. There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, may the sunny side always come to you. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all our way if we keep on the sunny side of life. storm, and its fury broke today, crushing hopes that we all held so dear. Clouds and storms, and time will pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. You know it. Keep sunny side. It will help us every day. It will brighten all our way if we keep on the sunny side of life. Thank you. The Circle album is now in the Grammy Hall of Fame and the Library of Congress. And it's something that is just amazing that it's got a new life. The last month and a half, it's been #1 on Amazon's, 3 of Amazon's charts, and number 18 or 19 on the country chart, the main country chart. It's the album that wouldn't go away. And really happy about that. And one of the songs that was done on it was by Mr. Travis. He did, of course, I Am a Pilgrim, but we went to his house for the rehearsal, and his wife said, "Oh, glad you boys are here. Merle's looking to get that old box out of the closet and tuning it up." "Oh, yeah? Good. Merle, go get that guitar out of the closet and tune it up." He got out the dustiest guitar case I'd ever seen and started tuning it up. He started, "Honey, which one is out? I can't tell." "Oh, that one? Okay. Yeah, okay, I got it now. Yeah, I want to do the Cannonball Rag on the Circle album." And here's a bunch of young guys. I was the oldest. I was 24. The guys were like 20, 21, and we're meeting him. We hadn't seen him for a few years. And he got tuned up, and he went, "I want to do the Cannonball Rag, you know, the one that goes, it goes. And we're kind of looking at each other going, maybe we came too late. You know, he was reeling us in, because he later on, about 2 seconds later, went... How about a hand for my bass player? Thank you. Any questions? Any questions now? Anything? Yes.
How did the name Nitty come about?
we were a bunch of guys hanging around a music store. It had a table, and like there with a bunch of 6 or 7 chairs around it. And these guys were sitting around picking and playing. I mean, it was usually during school. One of them was Les Thompson, 16 years old. One of them was Jeff Hanna, 18 years old. One was another guy that was 17 and different things. And I had started playing by then. I was 19 when I got introduced to McCabe's. Well, actually 18. But anyway, one day, Les Thompson called me up. Les and I had had a group called the Wilmore City Moonshiners, which was basically a Dillard's wannabe band. The Dillards were the Darlin family in the Andy Griffith Show. And I have a DVD with me, a documentary I did on them to honor them. And it's a wonderful thing. 14 songs, live music, shot on camera. And the Wilmore City Moonshiners had broken up, and 6 months had gone by, and I played with Michael Murphy for 6 months, but Michael Martin Murphy, you know him, Wildfire and all that. But that didn't, it was called the Texas Twosome, and I wasn't from Texas, and Michael and the other guy were. And the publicity picture I wasn't in, so it's like, Michael, that's not for me. Nice to meet you and all that. It's been a good run. I ended up playing on 5 of Michael's albums as the years went by. But Les called me up in '66, July, and said, hey, the guys at the music store are starting a group called Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. You want to be part of it? I said, well, let me see if they can learn one of my song. I taught them one of my songs and used them at a banjo contest, the Topanga Canyon Banjo Contest, and I won the only contest I ever entered. I figured the only thing I was going to do after that was lose, so why don't I, you know, yeah, nowhere to go but down. But so I said, well, they're good. I need a band. I want to be on the radio. Okay, yeah. And we started rehearsing that August 12th, about noon, no, 1 o'clock, actually. Might have been 1:30, but everybody was late. And that's when we started, the official Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, to get together. By September, I got my brother to manage us. And by February of the next February, we had our first album out. We had 12 songs on it. We only knew 13. That 13th one really sucked. But we were young. We only knew 13. And it was quite exciting. It was a different time. It was, we recorded our first album, our first album, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. It's on a tractor. Everybody's sitting on a tractor at Armin Steiner's 8-track. But we had to wait for the Beach Boys to finish because it was the first 8-track in Hollywood. 8 tracks. You can record on 8 tracks. Ooh, cool. And you could. And so we made our first album. And a month later, the record was on the radio. Oh, this sure took a long time. We've been together 7 months. I haven't even changed my strings yet, but
Where did the name come from?
the name came because Jimmy and Jeff were sitting and the band was coming together, and one guy said, I want to call it Nitty Gritty Band. Another guy said, I want to call it the Dirt Band. And because we do dirt, everything. Oh, let's call it Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. I said, okay. And that was it, like 30 seconds. It took us 10 years to make it work. But it's a strange name, and it's a strange group of people, a strange thing that it worked. My brother managed for the 12, 15 years, and then in the 70s, and starting with Uncle Charlie, he produced the records and did the album covers. Those great album covers, like you have there, are Bill's concept. And Yeah, my brother Bill. And he was our George Martin, you might say. You know, although George Martin wouldn't say it, but. And like that. And anything else come to mind? How did we do what? Well, my brother was managing Steve Martin. Steve and I went to high school together, and he says that I taught him how to play the banjo. Well, I taught him in those early days because I was quicker at learning things. We were both trying to get a job in the magic shop in Disneyland at 16 years old, and we got the job. We both got the job the same with the same week, and we celebrated by having lunch in Tomorrowland. And isn't that weird? Tomorrowland, really? And we were 16 and 17 and 18 working at the magic shop. It was a dream job. It was, usually if we didn't get 10 hours a day, we were bummed out. But 12 hours, okay, yeah. You know, because you're on all the time. You're doing tricks to people all day long, trying to sell them. If you messed up, there'll be a new audience in 20 minutes. They just keep coming through, you know? And you learned a lot of things then. You learned a lot of jokes, you know, just patter and stuff. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Rover, the world's smartest mathematical dog. Rover, what's 2 plus 2? Roo, 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 roo. Come on, boy, one more. Then the banjo came along, ruined our magic career forever. No, Steve emailed me last September. Well, we talk every now and then. In fact, right now he's writing something for me, which is really an incredible honor and all that. But I have an illustrated book of the mountain whippoorwill. Are you people familiar with that? It's a poem I used to do about a fiddle contest. You familiar with it? Well, it's an illustrated book. It's really neat. Done. Guys have spent a year and a half on it, but I needed a foreword. So I said, Steve, you want to write a foreword for the mountain whippoorwill? And he went, oh yeah, I'll do that. I just landed in Australia. It'll take me a couple days. And I got the finished one at home. I can't wait to see it. And so my brother's managing Steve. He was a writer. You know, he was a writer for Smothers and Glenn Campbell and Sonny and Cher. And I remember when he told me he was going to quit and become a solo performer, but tell him I'll get to him later, okay? And he said he only had 8 minutes of material. Well, you need more. And I sold him a bit, which I didn't own. I sold him this bit. I remember Lily well. It didn't make much difference to me that she was a waitress at the Waffle House and I was president of General Motors. I'll never forget that fateful day when I went into her bedroom and she said, John, take off my stockings. And I very carefully took off her stockings. And then she said, now take off my shoes. Thank you. And then she said, now take off my dress. And I very carefully ripped off her dress. Then she said something to me I'll never forget. She said, "I don't want to ever catch you wearing my clothes again." I just thought of a song that I haven't played for a while. This is I raised 6 kids, and I played at all their schools. And I remember when my daughter was she's 49 now. She asked me once. I was tucking her into bed, not when she's 49. She's about 5, and she said, "Daddy, would you play me a song on the banjo to go night night?" And sure, honey. She'll be out of therapy in 1 more year. But I played this song at their schools, all of them, various times. Grandfather's Clock from 1750 by Henry C. Worth. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody asked me a question because I can think of the next thing. I read music really slowly. I slowed records down to 16 2/3. I had to remember for a minute. Divide 33 1/3 by 2 really quick. Okay. And you could get the, it'd be an octave lower. Would be bong, bong, really low sounding. I did that, and I would go see the Dillards. I went to see them maybe 10 times a month, because they were always playing Southern California. They were really hot. They were on the Andy Griffith Show every night. I mean, they did 14 of them. And they did a few other TV shows. And I'd learn a song. That's not it. Oh. I got the first part, and I go see Doug. Oh, I got the second one. Then how does he do the other part? No, he does it here. And so I learn it step by step, you know. By the end of a couple weeks. Banjo in the Hollow. Okay, what? Well, I figured you had to wash it, you know, like a piano player. I learned it like this. Ah! Oh, man. Doug would hate me for that. But the banjo was really a... The question was, how did we get on King Tut? Well, we're all up in Aspen, and my brother had a studio up there. The Dirt Band was recording up there. Other people were recording up there. It was 1977, 76, 77, 77. Yeah, 77. And we were playing the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. You know where that is? It's in L.A. It's the cool room in L.A. that 2,000 seats. And Steve comes in. He was opening for Ann Margaret in Vegas. He goes, hey, I got this idea for a song. He had just finished his set and flown over. So it's like he didn't have any money, but he had enough to buy a plane ticket. But he got to the, look, when I say King Tut, you guys go, King Tut. And when I do this, you go, Tut, Tut. And, you know, and in the dressing room, we did that. And we went out on stage, and we did the song. We rehearsed it a couple times in the dressing room. And a week later, we were in Aspen, and Bill says, let's record King Tut. And we, Brian Savage is a friend of ours that played sax, boom, boom, baritone sax. And we had everybody there, and the song was recorded, mixed, and done in 7 hours. And the record company wouldn't put it out. Wouldn't put it out. We're not going to put out that stupid song. Well, okay. Then this is the way my brother was. He made 25 acetates, which is like a temporary record, a reference record. You'd make them on that. It was the process was so difficult then. Getting to the studio, the stuff, getting to the record, getting the record out there. But he made 25 acetates and sent them to 25 stations. And they were calling, it just went crazy. They were calling Warner Brothers going, how many King Tuts have you sold? Well, none, it's not a single. Well, it better be, it's number 18 on this station, and we're ABC in New York, and we're in Chicago, we're in wherever. They finally put it out. It did 1.5 million units, and they learned their lesson. The thing about that, the lesson that you learn is if you believe in something, no matter how stupid it is, play the banjo for a living? Come on already. You know, play a banjo where people are going to say, hey, did you hear about the banjo player that went into Walmart? He got inside, he remembered he forgot to lock his car, and he left his banjo in it. He ran out there were 3 more banjos. But if you do what you believe, if you write a song of your own, then live it. Do it for someone. Somebody, you're going to reach somebody. It may not be I'm going into my high school mode right now. I mean, I do this at high schools a lot, but trying to tell younger people. But any age is good. If you're believing and if you're coming up with stuff, you're probably the only one that's coming up with that. And so do it, you know. King Tut was a good example. The record companies don't make records. They press plastic and they distribute plastic and they market plastic, whether it's a CD now or plastic like it was then. And as soon as they start thinking they know how to make the record, they sometimes will see moderate success or good success for a year or two with a boy band or something, but they won't get it.
Well, I've been taking lessons with Andy here, so let's give this a shot.
And this was on the Symphonium Dream album. So, in answer to your request, we do requests. Ready? When I want you in my arms and I need you, and all your charms whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream, 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 dream when I feel blue in the night and I need you to hold me tight whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream, 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 dream. You know, we're in a music store now, and I bet these people here all know this song, Merle. Everybody knows this song. Felice and Boudleaux Bryant wrote it. They also wrote Rocky Top. And you're going to hear the bridge come around, and you're going to join in like a good crowd. We're here every Thursday, by the way. Try the veal. Oh, here comes the bridge.
I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream, 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 dream.
Really big.
Dream, 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 dream.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.